Alrighty. I'll share my screen. Okay, so wasn't sure about which ones to include, so I just did the ones that were mentioned because they're common ones. So I've got standard JavaScript events and my onChange demo. So when you pick one of the options of pets below in this select thingy, you got your option values. So just onChange, whenever a different one is selected, it starts the onChange demo function that I made. And here's an onChange paragraph. And so here's the onChange demo. So I've got a variable to fetch what's selected and a switch statement depending on what she got selected. So when Professor McGonagall is selected, Professor McGonagall is my 7-year-old brown tabby cat. And you go through, Zoe's my Aunt Becca's 8-year-old toy fox terrier dog. And all the others have their own little descriptions. And so that is in onChange.
Sorry, can you go to pets real quick?
Right here?
Pets element.
Or was it the switch statement you wanted to see?
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks.
All right. Okie dokie. So any questions about onChange? It just, whenever there's a change in this select box, it calls the onChange demo, sending the value of the box.
Yeah,
for the switch statement right here.
That's your switch. So that is just the onChange function.
Yeah, the onChange is just whenever something changes in this select statement. That the rest of that is just.
It's the onChange that's the keyword there. In
Yeah.
that case. Yeah. Okay. You can put whatever function you want in there. It's just instead of doing it on a click, it's that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So ready for onClick?
Yep. OnClick is the one we use almost all the time, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, I've used the onClick event in every single program for all our subjects to call all my functions up to now. So this will just be a greeting. So, button onClick demo. Hello world. I'm a string that was printed in a function called by an onClick event.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's just printing to the screen, and that's all. So I'm sure you guys don't have any questions about that one.
No.
All right. So on mouse over and on mouse out demo. So on mouse over is when you mouse over something. On mouse out is when your mouse gets off of it. And so when I mouse over this square, it'll get bigger, then return to its original size when I take the mouse off of it. So I've got a div that I made the square with. And I'll go down to the thing. All right. So got the element by ID, got a mouse demo div, it's the square, and make a function for it, mouse over and mouse out. And so mouse over, when it's moused over, the style width goes and the height go to 300 pixels. So mouse over that, off, on, off, on, off. So mouse over gets bigger, and right here I've got on mouse out, or just mouse out, it goes back to its original size.
So on mouse over in this case, or on mouse out, it's just a property, just like inner HTML or some of the other properties of the element. Yeah, go back down to your HTML. I mean, you're doing dot on mouse over instead of dot inner HTML or dot value. So
yeah, that's right.
It's a property, and then you're setting that property to be a function.
Yep.
So what if you didn't have the mouse out function at all? What would happen when you
then it would stay like this when I took it off.
It would stay big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a property of the element then.
Mm-hmm.
Or of the get element by ID, not the element itself, but of the... Okay.
So any questions on that one?
So hold on 1 second. Will you go back up to your code outside of the? There's nothing in your code, the HTML, is there at all? It's just the div.
Yeah, it's just the div.
Yeah, with a class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, square just because I've got
Yeah.
my style stuff for the square right here.
The green and the black, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. So now I've got on key down. I wasn't sure what to do for this one. Like the rest, like all the tutorials I was seeing, they were like print the key that's being printed, like maybe some kind of key logging thing. I don't know if that's what that does, but maybe so. But I didn't want to, just copy it or whatever. So click on the text. Whoops! Click on the text box and start typing. So when I type anything, it's keyboard noises.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think
So
on key down is mostly used for like validation of passwords and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So wait, let me go back up there to see that. All right. So input type text, and so that's the input box, and just adding this on key down is what does that. So on key down, whenever I push a key, it calls the on key down demo, and I've got a little paragraph thing there for it. And so going down to the on key down, it just prints keyboard noises. So we're ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. So this one's on touch start. The schedule thingy called it on touch begin, but I couldn't find any on touch begin, so I assumed it was on touch start. And this one is mobile only. So let me see if I can get it on my phone.
Is it mobile only or is it touchscreen only?
I think it's mobile only, but I'm on a MacBook, so we don't have a touch screen for it. Let me run that. Now reload. Okay. So I will stop sharing my screen, or I will turn this on. No, I do have to stop sharing. Okay. So, well, let me zoom in on it. So you see the blue circle on, oh, well, you don't, but so here's a blue circle. So when I tap on it, it turns red, blue, red, blue. So I'll show you that one.
Nice.
All right. So I made a color swap starting at 0, and the function is on touch start demo. Made a circle variable, getting the div, which is right here, and the class is circle. So it's my circle styling there.
It's the same thing as on key down. It's just a specific property of the div.
Yeah, I'm just adding on touch start. So whenever I touch the div on the touch screen, on touch start demo starts, and so got starting at 0. So a switch statement with the color swap variable. So if it's 0, then when I tap it and this function starts, it turns into red, and the color swap turns to 1. And if I do it again, the color swap is 0, so it does this case, so it turns to blue, and just go back and forth. So any questions on touch start?
Wait a second, go back down to color swap.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a function?
Yes.
Oh, no, I see. It's your color style. It's your style. Yeah. I was actually thinking your color swap was doing something, and then I realized, no, your style is right there. You're just setting the variable.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Anything else for that one?
No, I don't think so.
All right. So this one, had a little trouble with this one. I wanted to have it load because I've got 2 images loading, and I wanted to add the onload to this right here, but it wasn't working for some reason, so I had to do it in the body instead. So for the body, when the body loads, onload demo starts. And so there's the first picture, and so when this image loads, once the skipper gives the command, Kowalski engages the Yule log. So he says engage, Yule log engaged. So onload demo. So when the body is loaded, this function starts, which makes this image element and sets it to this picture and the width and the height, and appending it to the end there. So onload is something that happens once the thing it's attached to is loaded. So any questions on that one?
No.
All right. So that is the end of mine. All right.
Okay, does that mean that I'm up?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. So I had the HTML5 tags, and it said video, audio, and canvas. So
Hey, hold on one second, Jessica.
yes.
What are you seeing, Matt, on your screen?
I see Jessica.
You see her, the stuff she's showing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The picture.
Yeah. Are you seeing it okay?
Yeah. I am now. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Jessica.
No, it's fine. So these video and audio are actual tags through HTML. So some of them you can have the default controls, and this is nice that it's split screen, but I still, so this, sorry, I all of a sudden, can't remember, I did this. Oh, here we go. Video controls true. So if you have this property of video, which is controls, and I have it set to true. So on this one, it just has the default. This is what everybody has, and it will play this video. You can change the volume. You can do full screen. There's no skip forward or skip back or anything like that. This is just what you get with default. So you can choose to not have the default controls. So this will do the exact same thing. It's play pause. So here's the function that gets called. This is another property of video. So pause, this play function is just it's built in with the tag, and same with the pause. So you check if the pause property is true, then it will play. And if it's not, then vice versa. And then here I put the forward and back, so we can skip forward 10 seconds or skip back. And I did 10, so in my HTML, it calls this change position, and I put -10 for going backwards, +10 for going forwards. And then current time is a property of the video tag, and so you add the amount, so it'll either go forward or backwards. I was able to, I don't know exactly why you would do all of these if they're in the default, but I was able to recreate the full screen, which again is just a property. Well, although this seems to be a newer-ish thing. There used to have to be a workaround, but you just use this. Here's my video. You do the WebKit request full screen, and then it pops up with the full screen. And then I was able to do a volume control. I don't think you guys can hear it when I play it, can you? Do you guys hear anything when I push play on the video?
No.
No? Okay, I didn't think so. But this, I swear, I promise it works. So this is just a video slider. It is based off of an input type. So the type is range. Min is 0, max is 100. It goes 1 at a time, and then I have it just start off at 50. And then this on input, as soon as anything is inputted or changed there, it calls this function, and it puts in the value. So each of these steps have a number. I don't have the little counter that shows the number, which maybe I should have, but and it changes the volume, makes it louder or quieter.
You have changed volume on 2 different ones, right? One should.
I do, because this is for audio. Sorry, this well, I mean, it is the exact same thing, but this is for the audio one. This
it says video on your.
Oh yeah, I don't. So this, that should say audio. It doesn't really matter because it's just a variable, but it should say audio. This was a copy and paste from up above, and I just changed the element ID, and I forgot to change the variable. But yeah. So are there any questions about video?
I have
pretty
a
much
quick question.
Go ahead. Yes.
So the videos that you stored in variables, are they, you mean you downloaded them so you're pulling from like a local MP4 file?
I am. So I downloaded them. I have a video folder here, and it's just sitting right there. You can link to the web and pull in videos from the web, but if they ever disappear, then, or if there's ever a problem with the website, then you don't have it anymore. So for the purposes of this, I just downloaded it, and then I have it as a source here.
So if you wanted to like pull from like YouTube, could you just put like a YouTube URL in there, or do you have to go into a special process for that?
I wonder. So a lot of the code that I was looking through to figure this out had just the HTTPS and the whole website in there, and it would open up and load. I didn't try it with a YouTube video because I wasn't planning on using it, but that seemed to be what most people were doing, was just calling the source from a website. So gotcha. I would guess that would work.
Yeah. I don't think it would be much too complicated to do that, but I actually didn't think about doing it how you did, so I'm glad you did it that way. Yeah, I just figured it was safer, at least for the purposes of turning it in. yeah, true. It seems more reliable, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I'll have to try that. I wonder if that would work. I mean, I'm pretty sure it does. Like I said, that's what I saw in most of the other code, so I just didn't actually try it. Are there any other questions about the video?
Go back to your where your video was set to true.
The controls. I have that up here.
Right. So this is your spirit. This is your first one.
This is my first one. Yes.
Where's your second one?
The second one's right over here without. So like if I were to put this as
page, where is it in your code here?
I don't have the controls, so the default would be false. So in fact, I think if I were to just, see the code, if you don't specify that you want them to be on, it defaults to false. So now there's no, and then if you right click on it, you can say show controls. And because I didn't want this other one to have the default controls, I just didn't put the property. I didn't specify what it is.
Yep.
And I believe, so for the audio, which is very similar for the default controls. This little player right here is just the default player that Chrome threw up when I used the, so I did the same thing for the audio. I downloaded an MP3 from LDS.org and I have it in an audio folder on my computer. And in this, I put the controls right here. I didn't see that on the videos. I should try it out and see if you can do that with video, because that would make more sense. But this basically tells the tag to show the default controls. And then, so this one was super simple. If all you wanted was this simple play and this is, you know, to run through it and the volume control, then it's really easy. But I wanted to try to do it without them. And that was a lot harder because if I have it, so here's the same thing without it. So all it is we've got the audio and the controls property is just not in there. And so it doesn't set up the default controls. And so it looks like there's nothing there. If all of this stuff was hidden, it would just be a blank screen. And so it was hard to, I mean, there was no way for me to figure out how to play it until I added these play pause. They're pretty much the exact same. So I had used the same JavaScript file, but here's the audio. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same. This is used for the progress bar, which I'll show you in just a second. So, but the play pause was the same. The forward and backwards is the exact same idea. And then the volume also is the same idea. But this progress bar took me way longer than I feel like it should have to figure that out. So I have it just set here as an input. Same thing with the range. This is my volume. No, yeah. This is the volume. Where's my progress bar? Oh, it's right here. That's right. Excuse me. This was the volume with the range and volume and min max. The progress bar, what I ended up doing was just have, there's the default bar. So this outside div is basically this blue square or rectangle. And then there's an inside div, which is the actual progress bar, which at this point is set to be, to have no width because hasn't been any progress on it. So audio 2. So the progress bar is defaulted to 0, so it has no width. When the button is pushed to play it, you guys won't be able to hear it, but I wanted to zoom in. It will slowly start to show. Sorry, I can hear it. I'm going to pause that because I can hear it and it's distracting me. But so when it plays, it updates the time and it sets this interval and it calls the update function, and it slowly changes the width property through style through that many pixels, and then it's
there's your update at the set interval.
Oops, this right here calls this update function.
Yep.
I honestly still don't know how that works, but
well, it's just your first parameter is the function, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. My first parameter is the function. So it calls this, it sets the interval.
And you can do anything you want in that update.
Yes.
So current time and bar size are they built into that progress bar?
Yes, the current time is, well, it's built into this audio tag. So here's my audio variable, and I got the audio file by its ID, and so current time is a built-in property, and so is duration. And then.
So you had to use parse int with that. I probably wouldn't have thought about
I wouldn't have either. Like I said, I seriously probably took like an hour or longer trying to get this to work. And I found a YouTube video that was really great. And he just said to make sure it's just like a fail safe to make sure that it reads it as a number. Not always necessary, but just kind of.
And if you do your forward and backward, if you do your forward 10 seconds, will it update your progress bar too? Not playing, but if you go forward, not back.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yep.
It goes up. So it was pretty cool to see to finally work. But again, it's kind of unnecessary unless you wanted to build your own player, I suppose. You just wanted to throw something in there quickly.
Will you go back to your HTML for 1 second?
I absolutely will.
So the audio can be done one of two ways, right? Because in the first one, you have your audio controls as one tag, and then your source is a separate tag.
Yeah, so this controls does basically the same thing as how I had in the video where I set that video controls property to true. This does the same thing. If you stick it in.
Yeah, it's not the controls, it's the fact that it's two different tags. You have audio and then you have a close audio. But down below, you're doing your source and your ID.
Oh, yes.
In the audio tag.
Yes, and you can do that either way. So I figured out as I was going through that it doesn't matter. It's one of those things where it's personal preference. I could have done that with the video too. So like an image where you put the source in the image tag. So it's a personal preference. Either way works the same. Are there any other questions about audio and video? I had never dealt with Canvas before. I don't know if you guys have. It was all new to me, and there are so many things that you can do with Canvas, and I just picked basically 4 because otherwise this would have taken a month all on its own. It's crazy. It's basically a way to draw. It's like literally a canvas, and you can do just about anything with it. So this first one I did was the shapes. So here, this is the div, and I made this canvas tag here, which is where everything is going to happen. So we'll ignore the clear for a minute. So the first one is this draw rectangle that gets called when I click that button, which is right here. So when you're using Canvas, so I first bring in the element. So this is just the Canvas ID tag. Then you're supposed to make sure that your Canvas is supported in the browser. And you do that by calling this get context property. And if it can get the context, then it is true and everything continues on hunky-dory. If not, then it would alert you your browser does not support Canvas. Most browsers do now. But it was a newer tag, relatively speaking, and so for a while, not everyone did. So once we know this is true, then it returns, then we use this, we get a new variable. This is just short for context, but you could obviously do whatever you wanted. And this, I put this explanation here because I didn't forget. So get context returns an object that provides methods and properties for drawing. So this will become an object that has Canvas's property. This is 2D because we're going to be doing 2D things. You could do 3D, I suppose, if you had a format where you could render that, but all of these will be 2D. And this is the same on all of these things that I do. This part is the same. You call the element in, make sure that it works, and assign the object to this context variable. And we'll do the clear here in just a second. So then, because I'm going to be making a rectangle, and I'm going to be making a rectangle that is filled in, so this will be the fill, not the stroke. I call this function off of the context variable here that I created. This is the x-axis, the y-axis, the width, and the height of the rectangle. So I click the rectangle, which by the way, it's totally a square, but that's just because my width and height are the same. But this is the fill. Now, the only way to make it go
first, right? So if you do another one, it won't create two of them.
No. Well, so basically what this is going to do is this is going to clear it away,
right?
Because I put it up there. So before I did that, it probably was creating multiple ones just on the exact same spot, so you'd never be able to tell, because when I do the circle, it's only an outline and it's in the same general area, and so you couldn't see it, but it was there. And so I put in, I mean, I have the clear button that does the same thing, but in each of these functions, I have the clear, but this clear rect, it's clear rectangle, but it's talking about the canvas, not an actual rectangle like the shape. And so that's the same for all of these. So it's going to clear.
I see that now in the circle one too. You're not doing the shape, you're doing actually the whole canvas.
Yes. And so it's, again, it's X, Y, and then the whole canvas width, the whole canvas height, it's clearing it. So that's how you kind of get rid of it.
That's all you're doing in your clear button then.
Yes. So I made these clear buttons, and then I realized, so I didn't have to sit and refresh my browser constantly. And then I realized I could just put it inside the function, but I left it there because I did. Because
without that, you could have a rectangle and circle on at the same time. But right now, the way you've got it set, you can only have one element on there at a time.
Yes, yes. And if I had them in different areas, this is a kind of a tiny area, and so it made it hard. But yeah, if I had a larger canvas for it, yeah, you could put up as much as you wanted, as long as, well, they could overlap, I suppose, if you could see them. Okay, so this one will do a circle. So we're dealing with the same canvas, so same idea. Again, it clears it out, and I'll comment that out after we do the triangle so you can see when it's not cleared. Okay, so this circle is only going to deal with the stroke, so it's not going to be filled in. When you start a circle, you start this begin path, which lets the canvas know where you're going to draw, and then you set the arc, and these numbers are X and Y, the radius, the starting angle, the ending angle, and then you multiply it by pi. And then you basically tell it to create the stroke. This is, again, a function that is part of this object, and then it makes the stroke. So here is my circle. Obviously, you could put any numbers that you wanted in here. This will change the position, and then these will change the size of it. I could have done fill in this also, but because I did fill with the rectangle, I didn't. But you can do the fill and stroke with any of these shapes. And then the other one I did was triangle, because there's not like technically a triangle shape or like easy thing like with the arc or the rectangle property. So with triangle, you have to deal with the drawing lines. So you're literally drawing the lines or having the canvas draw the lines. So you, again, same thing, call the canvas. This is clearing it. So we do the begin path again, which lets the canvas know where we're starting. And then we want it to move to, this is X and Y. So we're telling it to move to this X and Y point. And then we want X to stay the same and Y to move down, to move to 125. And then, so we use this line 2 function. And then I'm going to use it again to bring the X up so that it makes kind of a triangle shape, and then you close the path. So if I did that, hold on, I'm going to, because I'm in a problem. So if I did that, oh, why did it show up?
You didn't save, you didn't reload your.
Oh, I didn't. You're right. Sorry. I didn't read that. So yeah, so there's nothing there. And I was so confused. But that's because it's invisible because the path is there, but there's no line width or anything. So I had to then set the line width to 10. And then here is the stroke style is basically the color. So I just chose the color.
You won't do anything now until you actually do either stroke or fill though, right?
Right. Yeah. So like if I were to do this, it still won't show up because then I'm telling it, this is the line width, this is the stroke style, but then I have to actually tell it to create that stroke. And then here it is. And it's not filled in because again, I don't have fill. And oh, and by the way, this is something I learned too. So this now, the stroke style, it sets the stroke style for the whole browser, not just for this object. So remember when I did the circle before and it was a black outline? Now if I did it, it's this line width 10 and the color of my stroke. So all of the strokes are going to be that same thing. It's not just for that object, it's for the whole canvas, I should say. It's for all of this canvas.
Sure, because your CRT is the canvas.
Yes, yes.
Or your CTX, your
CTX, yeah. And then here, this will fill it in. Oh, gosh dang it, I keep forgetting I have to. So then now we have the fill inside. And then again, because the rectangle is a fill, it's now pink. So if I wouldn't, maybe I'll just do, what's this one? My triangle. Okay, so I did not put the clear in there. So like here's my rectangle, it's black again because I just refreshed. And then if I put the triangle without calling that clear, it just sticks it right there on top. And so they're both there. But now if I click rectangle, because it has the clear, it gets rid of it and changes to pink because the triangle told it to. That's basically the fill and stroke properties. You could obviously make any shape you wanted to with this line too. If you figured it out, drew it out in your, on paper or something to figure all of that out. But yeah. Is there any questions about like the shapes or the drawing of the lines?
No, it was very informative.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thanks.
Okay, so it can also do colors. So here, here is my color. So this is, I just got a different canvas color here, and everything else is done in JavaScript. So still starts out the same way with canvas and the CTX here. So then if you wanted to do a gradient, so you have this gradient, you take the object and you create a linear gradient. This is this X axis start, Y start, X end, Y end. And then you do these color stops. So you choose any value between 0.0 and 1.0. And that represents the position between the start and the end of the gradient. So I just have these two. So it'll start at this color, and then I added another color stop. You could literally have like as many color stops as you wanted, and it would continue to fade in and out of those colors. But for this one, it's going to go from just one color to the next. And then you have to make the fill style. You assign it this gradient variable that I just created up there, and then it's going to draw this rectangle and fill it, which is the same thing I did over there with the X, Y, width, and height. And this is a linear gradient, so it's like it's linear as in this direction. So here's the first color, and this is where like it's the darkest, and because this was at 0, and then my color stop, this is where it's the darkest at 1, and then in between this 0 to 1, it sort of fades in and out into each other for the gradient. And then you can do the exact same thing, but do a radial gradient, same idea, except for you would use create radial gradient instead of linear. And you have more properties because you need the radius. So you've got the X and Y radius start, and then you have to end them all. But otherwise, it's the exact same thing where you add color stops, you assign it to your fill style, and then you fill it, and it will turn and look like that. So it's more of a radial gradient. And as far as I could tell, those were the only two. I don't know what else gradient you would do, but yeah, so it's, and again, they had like full rainbows, sort of. You could add as many colors in there as you wanted. Any questions about that?
No, it makes a lot of sense. Your other one.
Okay. Okay, so then with the text, I don't believe there's much on here either. Yeah, it's just a new canvas. There's not much to do there. But, sorry, this is driving me crazy because I can't see the bottom. But I can't grab it either. Okay, sorry. No. Okay, there, now I can see. So this text with canvas. So it's the strokes again and fills. So, oh, here's text fill. So this is the, okay. So again, same idea, and you get the context variable, but you're just doing the fill style, and then you do the font. You set the font property, obviously pixel and the type of font, and then you can also align the text. And then once you have that done, then you want to fill the text. This is the canvas that I'm filling it on, and then the X and the Y variables. So, oh, no, I'm sorry, not the canvas that I'm filling on. It's the word that I wanted. So this could be anything. And that is what will show up. It's off center because it doesn't fit there, but based on my styling properties. So that will do the fill, and then you can do the same idea with the stroke. You just use stroke style instead. You have to set that line width again, otherwise it would be invisible. And then the same thing, and I just, obviously I put the same word in the same spot so that it would outline. So, and there's no fill in that one. I mean, you can use any font, it's pretty much the same as any other type, but, and then it clears off. Okay, patterns is the last one that I did. This one, as far as I can tell, so you have to use an image or a canvas. And I didn't do that, but like if I were to have made a pattern by shapes or gradients or whatever on this canvas, I can create a pattern of it on this canvas, if that makes any sense. But first, so I did images because that was a heck of a lot easier. And there's nothing here really besides this div and then the canvas. Oh, this isn't even a thing. I was testing something. But this canvas is sitting here, and everything else is done in patterns. So when, oh, except for, I'm sorry. When I click on repeat patterns, it sends it this repeat, and this is built in, so into the object. So it sends the repeat direction, repeat X, so it's going to repeat horizontally, repeat vertically, or no repeat, but it'll show the picture. So that is what is coming in to my, that's the parameter here, that's the direction. So again, I do the same thing, this is clearing it. So I'm creating a new image here. This is a new image object. And so the image object has this source property. And so I have this image is just saved. I downloaded it. It's saved in my images folder. And then you use this onload. So when the image loads, then it's going to call, it's going to go through this function. So I'm creating this pattern variable. Here's the object. They have a create pattern function off of it. I'm going to put my image in, and then I'm going to do the direction that I want it to go, either horizontal, vertical, or whatever. And then we do the fill style as this pattern. And then I create, basically, I put it in here in this rectangle. So it's putting it in the canvas, not like a rectangle shape. That's why it's canvas width, canvas height, just like when I cleared it. So if I wanted it to repeat on all directions, there it is, being horizontally and vertically. If I just wanted it to go horizontally, if I just wanted it to go vertical, and then if I don't want it to repeat at all, it's just the one shape there. And then I can clear it here, or I also have the clear up there. So if I would have saved this canvas, I could have created a pattern, have it repeating on that too. There were seriously so much other stuff that you can do with the canvas. It was really, really crazy. I will find the website they had a lot of, like, not necessarily tutorials, but it walked through a lot of how to do some of this stuff. And I thought it was super helpful. So I'll find it and I'll put it in the chat and Hangouts when we're done, so you guys can look at it if you want.
No, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Because yeah, it was.
I was going to ask you which website you got this stuff from, so that would be great if you'd add that.
Yes, yeah, I'll put it in the chat. I know I have it. I wrote it down somewhere, but I'll put it in there after. So
can you show me real quick? You know how you're passing in direction. So
yes.
where does that come from? Where did you specify direction?
In the button.
Yeah, in the button. It's so the button. So it calls this repeat pattern function. Okay. Yeah, and sends it in there, which is nice because it lets me use the same function for all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those directions are parameters that this create pattern recognizes. So that's all that I did for it, though, because that was a lot. Just
yeah,
all
that was
thing,
a lot.
So.
That was really good.
Yeah, it was. It seems like a really cool feature you could do a lot of fun stuff with once you really got it figured out.
Yeah.
Now I have to figure out what happened to popped out. I don't think I can stop sharing my screen. I don't know what happened to the.
On the side.
Oh, it's over here. I thought that it popped out. All right, whatever. Stop sharing. There we go. You would think that I didn't know how to use technology, but I swear I do. So that's all.
Well, that was good.